Hi guys, it's Nikki here from the Eat Well Project again, and today we are going to cook tomato spirals, and it comes from the I Can cookbook. If you haven't got this book, don't worry guys, we're going to go through it all today. And doesn't it look delicious? So these you can have as a little treat because they are pastry, but if you serve it with a salad it makes it a much healthier option, and you can put whatever you want in them really guys. So before we get started, remember we have got to wash these things. Let's have a look at the ingredients for our tomato spirals. Not many ingredients on this one. So we've got 125 grams of puff pastry. You could use flaky pastry, I couldn't get flaky, but similar, very similar, so you could use either. 30 grams of grated cheddar cheese. You could use other cheeses as well, if you like a blue cheese, or you like Wensleydale or Red Leicester, any cheese that you've got really. 2 tablespoons of tomato puree, and the recipe says 4 torn basil leaves. Now I haven't got any fresh basil, so I've put about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of dried basil there, so we'll see how we get on. Okay, so let's get started. So first things to do is preheat your oven to 220, 200 fan and gas mark 7, and then also we're going to line, I've got a baking tray here, or baking sheet, whichever you've got, and I've got some parchment paper I've just put over it. If you haven't got any parchment paper, don't worry, just grease it lightly, and then you'll be ready to put the pastry on top once we've rolled it. So I've got my puff pastry here guys. I'm just going to sprinkle some flour onto the worktop, and we want a rectangle that's 3 millimeters in thickness. So I'm just going to put some flour on my rolling pin, and then I'm just going to gently roll back and forth my rough puff pastry, keeping it as best I can in a rectangle, and we're looking for 3 millimeters wide. So I think we probably now need to flip it over, give it a shake so the flour comes off, and then roll it that way. So give it a roll, because we're going to roll it up eventually like one long sausage. And I'm going to take that off again. I'm just going to push my flour across again and just make sure I've got some flour on my chopping board, and I'm going to go back and forth again, keeping it in a rectangle shape as best I can. So very much like that. And then I'm going to pick it up again, put a little bit more flour underneath and turn it again. Just dust some of that flour off. Make sure I've got enough on my rolling pin, and back and forth like that again. I think we're getting more like the shape that we want now. I'm going to do the same again guys. So rolling it back and forth, because we've got to get, it says that we're going to divide it into 12. So let's have a look, and I think if we go this way again, okay, I think that's looking pretty good, and I would say that is no more than 3 millimeters in thickness. I don't know whether I can demonstrate that guys. Let's have a look if I can. No, probably quite difficult on here. I would have said we're about there. So that is our pastry, and then what we're going to do first is we are going to put some tomato puree all over. So what I suggest we do is put a little bit in each corner like so. This is, as I said, 2 tablespoons. We'll give it a little bit of scrape, and then go as close to the edge as you dare, because whoever gets the edge piece doesn't want to dry it, do they? And then keep spreading. That's it, that's spread over really well. Now you could put all sorts in this guys. You could roast some peppers, you could put a little bit of meat in, you could put some mushrooms in, all sorts of things. This is a really simple one. So next I'm going to get my 30 grams of grated cheese, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over. As I said, you can use different sorts of cheese as well. I think it does need the cheese in it, if I'm honest. There we go. You might want to put a little bit more cheese, but I'm trying to keep it fairly healthy. So although cheese is good for us, we don't want too much in our diet. And then the next thing is I've got about a teaspoon of dried basil, because I haven't got any fresh. So over that goes. You could put all sorts in there if you wanted. You could put parsley, you could put oregano, anything like that. And then what we're going to do now guys is we're going to roll it up like a sausage. So first of all, I'll get a little roll like that. And you want to try and keep it as even as possible. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And there we are. You have got a fantastic sausage. Just make sure it's sealed in the bottom. Okay, push the edges in a little bit. And then I'm just going to get, because I didn't get it out before, a nice sharp knife. And then this goes into 12, so easy to do. I'm going to give it a little saw through. I'm going to go in half. And then each half has got to go into 6. So if I go down the centre like that, and then each one of these has got to go into, if I do a few marks like that, make sure they're even, into 3. So they look very much like that. So when you've got them all cut up, guys, you need to put them on your baking sheet, like so. Now, when you put them on the baking sheet, they probably need to be a little distance apart because they are going to spread out. And if they go out of shape a little bit, push them back down. You might want to turn that one over actually. Push them down, and they probably need to be that sort of distance apart. So they're all done now, guys. So we are now going to put them into our preheated oven for about 15 minutes, but we will keep an eye on them because some ovens obviously vary. So I've got them out of the oven here, and look at them, guys. Don't they look tasty? Now I've done a little bit of a salad with them to make them a more of a healthier tea, I suppose you could have this as, or you could take these on a little picnic or perhaps in your lunchbox. So should we have a little try? So let's have a look. I'll cut them in half. I've let them cool down a little bit because they would be a little bit hot. Okay, so there's the lovely spiral. And I'm going to have some salad with it because I do love my salad. And a little bit of tomato. I've done some tomato, cucumber, pepper and lettuce with that. So let's have a try. Very good, guys.